You know, one of the most unique features of the new Icon chassis is the rear bearing carrier design. It's easy to notice quickly that the two-piece design with the rod cap design allows you to take 4 bolts loose, take these caps off, and the whole axle assembly will come out real quick and easy. But there's another thing that you can't see just from sitting here, is that each cassette has a series of slugs that are in the base of the cassette right here. These slugs can be changed on the left side to adjust the axle up and down for cross weight, and on the right side they're laid down so you can adjust lead in the chassis. By adjusting these slugs, you can move this side of the axle up or down, and you can move it as much as a ½ an inch in 1/16 increments. Where on that side, you can move it forward and backwards. The same slugs are used in both sides, but over there they're laid down, so on that side you can do axle lead. You see, this is a right side cassette here, and as you can see, each cassette is slotted in the bottom. You have a pocket in the bottom that allows these slugs to be inserted. Now, when you got your cart new, each side had a regular 0 slug in it, which places the bolt through the center and puts it into the stock factory default setting. But also, we have other slugs that go in 1/16 increments. We have 1/16 and 1/8 inch slugs that allow you to move, like in this case, the right rear, to move the axle ahead or behind in 1/16 increments up to 1/8 of an inch. You also have different holes in your chassis that you can have 2 different ride heights. Where on the left side, you've got the slots are up and down, where you use the same slugs in 1/16 increments to adjust this side up or down. This is good whenever you have, say you go to an indoor race one week and you need to run really low cross, or you go to a big wide open large dirt track where you need to run a lot of cross. This allows you to get your cross numbers in the back without having to change the front end so much and jacking all your washers around. You can just change your slugs, and you can change up to a ½ inch on the left rear, up to a ½ inch in 1/16 increments. Some racers use the left rear to get a specific axle rake that they want versus using it to get specific cross weights. You see, with us, a lot of times we'll take a lot of the rake back out of the cart for the bigger speedways and put and then move the spindles on the front to get the cross that we want. Now that's when we're running on the same situation a lot. So some racers will use it for cross, and while others will use it just to get the axle rake that they want. Another question we get a lot is some racers get confused on how to put the pills in, which direction they move. The stamp indicates which way that the axle's being moved. So in other words, if you put the stamp number on the top, that means you're moving the axle up. You put it on the bottom, it's down. And then when you on the right-hand side, when you're adjusting lead, if you put the stamp to the front, you're moving the axle to the front. So don't pay as much attention to the hole as you do to the stamp, because that's the direction you're moving the axle. All right, so let me back up for a minute and correct myself. I said that you move the axle, but you really don't, because see, the height of the axle is actually dictated by the tire. So when you change these pills, you're not really changing the axle height, you're changing the frame height. So check this out. See, as you change the pill, the height of the frame changes, but the axle height stays the same. So as you change the pills, you need to keep in mind, I'm really changing the frame height, not the axle height. Okay, the right cassette allows you to move the axle forward and backwards. But again, the axle does not move because it is because the posture of the axle is actually determined by the stagger and the tire size. So really what you're doing is you're moving the frame forwards and backwards, which really the end result of what you get from changing axle lead is nothing more than changing the tracking of the go-kart. On the right-hand side, like we said before, the cassette on the Icon actually moves forward and backwards to adjust axle lead. A lot of people get this confused with what's called in the stock car world of rear steer. A go-kart does not have rear steer because it does not have suspension. Rear steer happens whenever the suspension of a race car, the travel of it, actually causes the axle to change or to move and actually makes the back of the car steer the front. With a cart, what we have is what we call adjustable lead. So we can move the axle forward and backwards. But I want to explain something to you. Just like the left side, we're not actually moving the axle. And I've kind of set up this little demonstration to show you, because the posture of the axle dictates the line of travel of the go-kart. In other words, this axle is going to roll and at a plane roughly 90 degrees perpendicular to the center line of the axle is the direction that the axle is going to roll. Now that's affected slightly by stagger. But if we move this axle back, say 1/4 of an inch or forward 1/4 of an inch, let's just say back for now. If we move it back 1/4 of an inch, that does not mean that the axle runs in the go-kart, that it changes the line that axle is going to roll. That axle is still going to roll straight, but what's going to happen is it's going to cause the front of the go-kart to move over that way, because this axle is still going to roll in the same place. And the same line of movement is going to be the same no matter how you turn the axle. You're changing the front of the cart. So if we move it forward, in essence what's happening is it's moving the front of the go-kart over to this side, because the axle is still going to roll perpendicular to itself. You know, this unique carrier design that comes on each Icon chassis allows a racer to do just numerous things to be able to gain an advantage over their racers. They can tune their kart with axle lead, with cross, with frame height, just all kinds of things it can do for you. And I hope you've learned a little bit from what we've showed you here today, but if you've got a few more questions, anything about chassis dynamics or anything to do with chassis setup that this has spurred your mind, take a look at our top secret videos, and information about each of those valuable tools is available here on this website.